Erica. She's here? She's here. I remember from last year, this was such a blessing, so thank God. Erica.
My name's Erica and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm so grateful to be here to say that because how many of you guys work on Zoom from home? And you guys, so I work from remote from my house, and every time I'm about to get on a Zoom call, I have to introduce myself. And I'm always like, God, please don't say Erica, I'm an alcoholic. Please don't say Erica. And I think about it every single time. I'm like, oh, but Erica, I'm an alcoholic. Here I can say it. So I'm super grateful to be here today. I was just texting with my daughter a little while ago, and I have a teenager. She just turned 13, and she doesn't like coming with me to these meetings anymore. I think last year was the first time that she stopped coming. She's been coming with me to these meetings since she was in a stroller, you know. And she grew up in AA. She grew up in AA and recovery with me. It's been a really long road for me. I wanted to start off with this. I read the Bible app today, and if you guys don't have it, it's just a Holy Bible app. And in it today, the reading was the armor of God, so I want to take a moment to read that. The armor of God. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted in with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And I'll finish reading this part. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for the Lord's people. Pray also for me, that whenever I speak, words may be given me so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare fearlessly as I should. You know, and I learned all of that by being here around all of you, around people like Russell, around the pastors that I've gone to get help from, around everybody, my sponsor, being in this program, you know, it's such a powerful thing. So I'm talking to my daughter today, you know, I'm texting with her back and forth, and she's like, I'm really hungry and I can't wait for you to get home. And I'm like, okay, so make yourself a sandwich. No, I don't want to have a sandwich. I want to have ramen noodles. And I'm gonna make it with the vegetables and da-da, and I'm like flipping out, because I'm like, I don't want her to turn the stove on, because I have like major PTSD. Jackie's story and Cody's story are both my story, so maybe I don't really have to talk, but she's up there, you know, like, and I was cooking since I was 9 years old on a stove, like chair on the stove and all this stuff. I just get really terrified, and I'm like, you know, Erica, like, just chill out, you know? She's like, I'm gonna turn the stove on 350. I'm like, no, you gotta turn, she says, I'm gonna turn the oven on 350. I'm like, no, it's not the oven, it's the stove. And then she's like showing me what she's gonna do, and I'm like, I just, you know, it's okay for her to cook, you know? It's okay for her. I had a big house fire in 2016, which is why I'm so terrified, right? So I'm like, fires and houses and her being alone, and it's just terrifying for me. And it's like, and God tells me, relax, she's gonna do just fine. She's 13 years old. She knows how to cook. It's gonna be okay. You know, I say that I have Jackie's story, and I'm super grateful to be able to have my daughter, you know, and I just pray, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I met your beautiful daughter the other night for the first time in person, and I hear what you're saying about having those fears, because she's the love of my life. I love her more than anything in this whole world, you know. And having and loving something that much is somebody that much, you know. it's kind of scary. So yeah, I understand that. I say that I have a story like yours because I too grew up with a codependent mom who was in a very abusive relationship until I was about 15 years old. And I grew up with a father who was an alcoholic, liked powdered goods, and would also deal with them. So that's the kind of like upbringing I had. So there was a lot of survival skills that I learned early on as a little girl. And I remember there was this time that I was like getting off the school bus and I didn't want to go home, and I was in New Hampshire. And I actually purposely took the wrong bus in kindergarten so I wouldn't have to go home, because I didn't want to go home, because it was like out, going home, it meant that stuff wasn't, it's just not a good place to be. It wasn't a safe haven. So I never felt safe as a child, right? And then, when I would go see my dad, the few times that he would actually pick me up, there would be times that he would leave on a 3-day spree and I would stay home alone, hence the cooking by myself at 9 years old at the stove. So there's a lot of things, and I'm not blaming it on that, right? I had this thing within me, bottom line. It was gonna show its ugly head once I started drinking. But I was also, I also wanted to run away from things, right? To flight a lot. So I made sure to get really good grades in school. I got a scholarship, and then I was able to go to college and all this stuff, and I did all that on my own. And then as soon as I was done with college, 23 years old, moving by myself to South Miami, I decided, although I never wanted to drink alcohol because I always saw my dad doing it, and I was like, I'm never gonna do that. But then once all the stuff of school and everything, and I figured, oh, now I'm gonna have success and all these things. So I guess it's okay to have a drink. I immediately started dating a bartender, which is the worst thing you could do. So out of college, I started dating this bartender, and it was just horrible. And I started drinking, and of course I want to stay up with him while he's working his late night shift, so what else do I do with him, right? They tip people in that when they're bartenders. So I immediately go from what I hate the most to like out the door, like I'm gonna start drinking, cool, I'm gonna start doing this too. And then I thought to myself, it must not be that bad. I mean, my dad was always super successful, right? From like the world standards. So I was like, it sounds, it can't be terrible. The first year, I guess, it wasn't too terrible, right? I was able to sleep for 2 hours and go to work and thought nobody would notice anything, and I was okay. I could never do that today. If I only have like 2 hours of sleep, I'm not functioning, and I'm calling out. I'm 39 now. That relationship ended quickly, right? Then I meet my daughter's father. So we're going back and forth, and I'm going to Jacksonville, he's coming down here, back and forth, and I move up there with him, and then I get pregnant. He decides he's not ready to be a dad, no problem. I come back down to Miami. No problem, all good, no problem. I'm good to be a single mom, 4 months pregnant. I came down here, I did it myself. I'm very strong-willed, that's for sure. I think all of us are. Unless you guys know what I'm talking about. But all the while I was drinking. But then when I'm pregnant, I decided to not drink, right? Of course, you're pregnant, don't drink. Cool, I was able to do that. And I wasn't an everyday drinker either. I have the baby. A couple of months later, I started drinking again. All of a sudden, things aren't the same the way that they used to be. I mean, of course, I had a whole different life. I had from one life to a completely different one. And when I tried to drink, it wasn't doing the same thing that it did before. So I was like emotionally hungover all the time. The depression was starting. So I was like, I wonder if this thing, AA, really exists. So I went to Stable Palm. That was my first room, and I started doing that. All the while, the whole concept of God wasn't strange, wasn't like distant from me, right? Because I was always praying to like God and trying to connect with God. I just couldn't, but I always attempted to. I was raised Catholic, did all the sacraments and all that stuff. So I started doing the steps. After step 5, my sponsor rips up. She's like, you have to do step 4 all over again. You forgot a couple of things. And I said, you could go fly a kite. So I was like, I was sober one time. Look, listen, okay? I came into AA and recovery, never having been arrested, okay? I wasn't living under the bridge. I wasn't prostituting myself to drink, right? So I think to myself, oh, and I had just had a year without drinking because I was on my own accord. So I'm really not an alcoholic. alcoholic. Like, I had it all wrong, I exaggerated this whole thing, and you guys are lunatics, and this chick just ripped up my papers, so this is not good. I decided maybe it's okay to drink. So the day before I turned a year, because I already had did it on my own again, I decided to start drinking again. That turned into the next 3.5 years of picking up 1,000 white chips, because I knew that I didn't want to continue. This time around, when I tried to stop on my own again, after I took my will back, after getting a little bit of a glimpse of what this program had to offer me, and I took my will back, I couldn't stay sober again by myself. So 3 months, white chip, 4 months, white chip, couple of months, white chip, la da da, on and on and on. It was freaking exhausting, as you said, Jacqueline, exhausting. And within that time period, I was arrested 4 times. So it comes at you really, really fast, really fast. The first one, I had a child neglect. It was at the Clevelander Hotel. I was trying to get a hotel. I was trying to be responsible. And the front desk lady's like, there's something. She's like, call the cops. The cops get there, and as they're arresting me and stuff, I'm like, am I gonna get a DUI? And they're like, you weren't driving. I was like, oh, thank God. Okay, so it's not a big deal. So whatever, I get arrested, all this stuff. I do the classes, the parenting classes. I had my daughter in a stroller after drinking like 4 Cala Cabs. I thought that was okay. South Beach is not okay. And so then whatever, I did that. And this is never gonna happen to me again. I made sure to get it expunged because I was mortified. Then a year later, I get arrested for reckless driving. I had never been arrested for a DUI before, so I was able to reduce it to a reckless driving. Did everything I had to do for that. Then after all that was over, I got a DUI. Then I figured, okay, maybe I just shouldn't drive when I drink. Brilliant. Because the insanity is so insane, right? Insanity, man. What we do to ourselves, it's without God in our lives. Well, He's with us, we just haven't reached out to Him and allowed Him to do His thing in our lives, right? So then I started knowing how much it is that I need to get through the time period that I'm drinking for. So one day, I have a great day, I'm trying to start my own business at home and all this stuff. And I pick up my daughter from school, I pick up the amount of alcohol that I need. I have a firefighter boyfriend that he's on, working that night. So I could get away with a couple of things that I want to do, right? And my daughter wants some French fries. I put French fries on the stove, the oil. I already had a couple of drinks. I go outside to get my luggage from the car. I come back, the kitchen's already ablaze. And immediately my first reaction is, get a bottle of water and throw it on it. Yeah, so I throw this bottle of water onto the fire, and it was an immediate explosion, like immediately. The lights go out immediately, an explosion, and it's just chaos from then on. My daughter's screaming, screaming, screaming. I can't get to her because the fire created a barrier where I couldn't get through to it, so I'm screaming for her, I'm screaming for help in the hallway. And all of a sudden her screams, torturous screams, so it was, I mean, if you guys have never been in a fire, it is instant, like, insanity, and it's an explosion. It's like being in a war in your own home, right? So she goes silent, and then automatically I think she's dead. I thought, my daughter's dead. There's something that happens to a human brain when there's like a switch that goes off when trauma happens like that. And from that moment on, I was not a human being. I was like not a human being. I went running the streets of Miami for like 2 hours. And all I'm thinking is, I'm gonna go kill myself, I'm gonna go kill myself. When I get to my friend's house, he's an anesthesiologist. And I'm like, I need to take a nap. That's what I tell him when I get there. I'm like, I need to take a nap, Grace just died, I need to take a nap. And he looks at me and he's like, let's call your mom, because I've known him since I was 19, right? He's like, let's call your mom. I was like, I don't wanna call my mom, I just need to take a nap. My thing was, I know where he partied, so I knew where his pills were, and I was just gonna take them and be done with it. It was too painful. Thank God, he got me to call my mom. He's like, you'll take a nap after you call your mom. I call my mom, and I tell her, Mom, my daughter's dead, Grace is dead. She goes, Eric, I'm right here with her. And I said, that's not possible. She died in the fire. Eric, I'm here with her. Well, me and mom didn't really have a close relationship, so I didn't believe what she was saying, right? So I tell her, put somebody else on the phone. They put somebody else on the phone, what does she look like? Because I'm here thinking, if she's alive, she's covered in bandages, something. Because if you would have seen what I saw, you would know that there's no way that anybody would survive that. I mean, the fact that my face didn't even get burned, that's like the first miracle, right? So when they tell me this is what she looks like, I'm like, they're showing him a picture. I go, ask her what her mother calls her. And then when they ask her, because I tried to talk to her, they said, no, you can't talk to her. Okay, ask her what her mother calls her. They get back on the phone, they said that you call her Muga. Nobody else would have known that. The minute they said that, I dropped the phone, I go, take me to the effing hospital right now. God forgive me for saying that, but it's part of the story. So they take me to the hospital, and in front of the hospital, there's like a whole line of officers. I mean, this was already all over the news. The mother in Miami who left her daughter to die in the fire building, that's what it was being labeled as. It was all male officers, except the lead investigating officer was a female. And they were ready to put me in handcuffs the minute I got there. And I looked at her and I go, let me just see her, please. And she looked at me, and then she told them, she's like, I'm gonna take her upstairs. So they escorted me upstairs. I walk into the room. My daughter is sitting in this room by herself, and I go up to her. And I mean, she's just perfect. Her little pink skin, her curly little blonde curls, perfect, just sitting there. And I look at her, and I go, and she looks at me. The first thing she said was like, Mommy, I thought you died. And I just looked, I'll never forget that moment. In that moment, I knew for a fact that God exists, that Jesus was there. Because if you would have seen what I saw, there's no way that she would have been alive, you know? And then after that, miracle after miracle after miracle, I was able to see them more and more and more. And, you know, in this program, God brought so many people in my life, right? So I went through the whole thing of the courts. I was on house arrest for about 5 months. They took custody away from me and from my custody away from my daughter because they had to do the investigation, which fine, I get it. It took me about 7 months to get her back from the court system. They told me it would take me 2 years, but I fought so hard. I did everything, you know, the plan that they gave me ahead of time, I already had it done halfway before they even gave it to me because I did all my research and all this stuff. You know, I got a sponsor immediately. And I mean, just this program, like, I was ready to do everything that I had to do. And God showed up, and he showed up in big ways, you know. I was wearing the scram monitor. I had 2 false violations. And in one of those false violations, I had told, you know, I had these three attorneys, right? This one attorney that, his name was Nathan Clark. I met him in the program. And he was my probation attorney, because before that I had 2 other attorneys. No, a lot of attorneys, a lot of money being thrown anywhere. But when I got, I didn't have any money, right? When I got on probation and all that, I was like, remember, I had lost everything. I was living in a black plastic bag with 5 articles of clothing in it for an entire year, right? So I kept going to court with the same outfit on and all this stuff, living from house to house to house because I was on house arrest. So I don't know if you guys have ever been on house arrest, but you have to have an address, so living at different locations all the time, all while trying to get my daughter back, while going to therapy, while going to AA, like all these things. But I was able to do it. Oh, and I didn't have a car this whole time too. And I figured it out. Because when you want it bad enough, you figure it out. You know? And through figuring it out, I found my connection with God. Anyway, I got these 2 false violations, and I had told a couple of people in the program, I said, look, if I ever get a false violation, I'm gonna send you a text, and you're gonna contact Russell Spatz, and you're gonna tell him to show up, because if I get a false violation, they're putting me in custody right away, which is what happened. So I go to see my probation officer. He goes, you got a violation. I was like, I was not drinking, whatever. So my friend calls, I text Russell, my friend calls Russell. The very next day, I go to court. They take me, you know, I'm in downtown, right, in the orange jumpsuit, flipping out because I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna put me in custody for the rest of my probation if this isn't sorted out. And so I'm sitting there, and I walk into the courtroom, and the courtroom is like this. It looks just like this, and it's filled with people. Okay, and I'm walking in through that back door from jail, from the cells, and then I sit right here, and then the minute I walk out, the whole room stands up, and I'm looking out there, and it's everybody from the program and from my church. Everybody. And not my blood relatives, the program, right? So, and then all of a sudden I look up and I see this man walking down there. Waltzing in as cool as can be. My judge, she's looking at him and she's like, Russell? What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, hey, Terry, I'm just here. My judge's name is Teresa Pooler. Judge, he used to be her boss once upon a time. So she's like, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, hey, Terry, I'm just here to talk for Erica. She's like, you know Erica? He's like, yeah. So then my whole thing happens, and he's a character witness is what he was doing there, I wouldn't have had any of that. I wouldn't have had any of you. I wouldn't have had anything had it not been for this program and for what God was doing in my life. And that I was able to actually see it with my eyes, and throughout that whole thing, I was wearing the armor of God and not even knowing it. My heart and soul is forever grateful for everything that this program has done in my life. Like, things aren't perfect, I still go through life. Right now, because I keep it very real, I'm going through a difficult time, that relationship with my mom, my dad. Right now it's okay with my mom. Right now it's not okay with my dad. I'm the one with the program. They're still very sick, right? I try to love them as much as I can, but somebody hurts you repeatedly over and over. It's kind of difficult. So I gotta create these really strong boundaries. But I don't stay alone. You guys keep me surrounded, and I talk through everything with you guys, so you guys give me the strength, and I get to come here and share my story, and all these things. How much more time do I have, Daniel? How AA has done for me, and my relationship with Jesus Christ has done so much for me in my life. I get to work for a financial organization that's Christian today. I got that job through my pastor at church. I go to Miami Vineyard, which is where I know Jackie from. And this is I'm just so grateful. I have no other words, but I love you guys and God bless you. God bless you.
I remember hearing that story last year and thinking about that little girl in that fire and what a miracle God did to cause that